Project L is now officially 2x KO, and there will be opportunity for us to play at home later this year, and there's new footage of Aloy, the newest playable champion. You guys might have heard of other people talk about the first two, but I want to give my unique perspective since I've probably played Aloy the most out of any person that's legally allowed to talk about her. But first, let's talk about the name. I don't know. I'm kind of ambivalent about it. I think Project L was a better name. Honestly, it just kind of screams League of Legends to me. 2xKO. I feel like it's kind of like a hipster name. I don't know. I know a lot of people hate the name, but to me it kind of stands out, and as long as we don't say 2xKO, like if we say like 2KO, I don't know, I feel like that's a little more trendy. But I'm not a name person. I can't really comment other than I kind of agree with some of the disagreement I've seen on Twitter, but at the same time I hope they know what they're doing because it does stand out and maybe it's good from a marketing perspective. So yeah, let's talk about Aloy. There is some footage that's already out, right? So we have about like 3 seconds in this clip, and yeah, that basically special in the super. It's so funny, the build that we saw was a super early footage build, and this super, like basically what would happen in the early footage build is she would just like kind of stand there, and then the tentacles would like all go around. It was kind of funny. But yeah, this is just like, think of it as your damage ender super. This didn't have invincibility in the early playtest, right? It was more of I wanted to end my combos with this special, and like if you had like a DHC fusion, you could, you know, use that fuse to go into your other character. But honestly, this was a super that didn't get used very much. Of course, at least in the build that we played, every character had 3 supers, and her other 2 supers were like the really cracked out ones. So the level 2, the one that cost 2 bars, was your invincible super. That's how it was for a lot of characters, I think. And then your, oh my gosh, she had the most degenerate super I've ever seen in any fighting game. She used to like spawn tentacles out of the ground. I'm not sure if she still does. I have to imagine, because it seemed like it was a core concept of her game plan. But basically you would spawn many tentacles out of the ground, and when I was talking to the devs, they said they're going to change this, but the thing that was really cheap in the build that we played was you could swap out to another character, and then the tentacles would still remain, and then you could go for 50-50s. And because Aloy wasn't out on the field, even if you hit the point character, the tentacles wouldn't go away and they get smacked. It was super cheap. And so in the build that we played, I didn't know this during the tournament that we played, but so I didn't abuse this, but apparently like in the internal tier list, they were thinking Aloy was one of the strongest characters because they could just, she was like kind of like a support character, right? You would do the tentacle super, you'd switch out to your point character, and then you just go for mix up, and it was super cheap and super busted. And I unfortunately didn't exploit that to the fullest. I kind of just used a super, kept Aloy on point, and it's still really cheap because she had she sort of had mix up where she has like a jump normal that is kind of like a delayed jump in, or she could go empty low and you could mix up between the two. And if you're really good, she had like fuzzy mix up, but she had like mix up that had to be set up off of like a safe jump, right? She didn't have like mix up just standing on the ground. There's some additional footage too, right? So there's a little bit in here. Obviously this is the same super, but I think they show a little bit. Yeah, they show a couple of her normals into this. This was a thing, right? But like the combo potential wasn't here. Like you couldn't, I don't believe you could pick up like this, right? And you also couldn't combo this in the super for whatever reason. Like she had a really hard time comboing the super. So what you would do is you would do that, and then you set up the tentacles, and then you go for Oki, right? But this seems that seems pretty good. Also, like look up, the big thing is she did more damage out of like anyone else I played, and yeah, that did a freaking chunk, right? And it looks like it still costs 1 bar. So yeah, it's one of her 1 bar supers, right? And that's all the footage we really have. So there's a lot that they didn't show, right? There's a lot of specials that we don't know. It looks like they only showed 1 special, because this is I think this is just her air charged H, if I remember correctly, right? And that's just her launcher, and then that's an air special. It's kind of just like a dive kick that I guess now it looks like you can OTG off of. But the main thing was like she has a couple specials that would spawn tentacles, right? So I think it was her neutral skill 1. It was kind of like a dashing lunge attack, and what this dashing lunge attack would do is you would block it, and then it would spawn a tentacle on them, and then the tentacle would kind of like on hit, it would hit, and then you get a full combo, and on block it was kind of like the tentacle is there, it was your turn, but the tentacle's there, so if you don't press the right button, like the tentacle will retaliate or something like that. So you had to press, you were kind of like locked into certain options after you blocked the move from Aloy, and she could like bait out your response. So it was kind of like it was almost her turn after you blocked like this lunging attack, which seems really, really strong, and it is, right? Any forward advancing move where it's still your turn and it's unreactable is very, very good move. And that's kind of like the core of the game plan. Is basically like you would get in, you do this move, and then you would is kind of like RPS situation, kind of like May S Dolphin in Guilty Gear, where it's like you block the Dolphin, but you still have a lot of things you can do after. Very, very similar with Aloy, except this goes into a full combo and hit. But the issue with Aloy was that it was really hard for her to get in, right? So we're talking like you're supposed to play, or at least on the previous build, as a support character, right? And yeah, the issue, she had like no neutral. She had literally no. You basically you run forward, you try to swing these buttons, but everyone else, you know, they have fireball. You don't have anything to get around fireballs. You have that dive kick, but the dive kick wasn't very good, and also her air mobility was bad. So like every character had like an air dash, right? So some characters like had more than one air dash, but most people, at least, they can like do a jump and then they can alter their jump momentum. But Aloy, other than that like falling dive kick, that basically wasn't a dive kick because it was really easy to hit her out. She didn't have anything you could do. So it was very, very hard to get in if you didn't have an assist. And then like, but once you're in, you were good, right? You basically had like some really cheap pressure tools, and also that really, really broke super that we're talking about before. So if you get the hit, it hurt, and then you would go into the broken super, and then you would do your mix up, right? But yeah, so she was very one-dimensional. She was very, I hit hard and I set the plays, but my neutral is complete trash. And so, but when you're 2v2, like you can kind of make up for that because you have an assist, or you can like have someone better at neutral on point, and then the other character can, I mean, you can have Aloy come in after you get the hit, and I think all those strategies were really strong. But there would be some times where like I'd have Aloy in a 1v2, and it was the most helpless feeling ever, right? So when I was like giving feedback to the devs, I'm like, what they should do with the character, I'm like, make her less polarizing, right? Like nerf this extremely broke super, and I think they were going to do that anyways. And then give her like some ability to play neutral. So for example, like she has, again, this really cool tentacle attack after her 5 skill. Or skill 1, but you could you know, maybe make her like do full screen tentacles that like aren't super cheap, but at least they'll like force the initiative and make your opponent think a little bit in neutral, because again, her movement is really slow. They could zone her out really easily. So something that would like at least make her playable in a 1v2, right? And yeah, that was mostly the feedback. I think Aloy is really sick. I really enjoyed playing her. My team again was Aloy and another to be announced character that I can't talk about, but yeah, I think hopefully you guys get the chance, because Aloy is my favorite character in the build that we play, and I think she still will be. I'm not really the kind to go for bruiser characters, but she has had like a lot of, I don't know, like her pressure sequences are really, really fun to play around with. So, and also like, you know, swinging. Oh, how did I forget this? She also had a really like some of the cheapest assists, right? So, you know, for example, this is that Ari assist, right, that hits multiple times. She had an assist that basically she would like slam the ground, but it would go like almost full screen. It actually looked exactly like her level 1 super. It didn't, maybe not like go full screen, but it's like this wind, like you see how she has like this wind up animation right here, and then like it hits the ground. Well, you can't really say you hit, yeah, it's like that was basically her assist, right? And so and she had like another assist that was like kind of like a quicker attack, but that was the real assist that you're supposed to use. And if that hit, you got a full combo. It also had hella block stun. It also like hit other assists, so the assist is really cheap. So again, very, very high support value. Wouldn't surprise me if they like nerf that. But yeah, really, really fun, very easy character too. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the Aloy thoughts. Hope this was helpful to you guys. Like, share, subscribe, and take care, y'all. Peace.